The next one that I wanted to complete with, actually it is something uh, based on the comparison of India with its neighboring countries. That means comparing our country India with Pakistan as well as China. If we compare our country with these two countries, there has been what I can say is there are differences, okay? Differences in terms of population, in terms of the growth rate, in terms of the demographic indicators, so on and so forth. If we look at the first point, that is, if we compare between India with Pakistan and China, it shows in terms of the GDP growth, prior to the economic reforms, the GDP growth rate was very low in all the three countries. After the reforms, after the reforms, there was a breakthrough. But China surpassed both India and Pakistan in achieving the GDP growth rate of nearly 10% per annum, and that too almost consistently. And in case of India and Pakistan, the GDP growth rate has yet to touch the double digit. So if compare the growth rate, okay, in terms of production, yes, all the three countries, be it India, be it China, be it Pakistan, they do aim to raise their growth rate. For example, India, during the early 1991, it has introduced what is referred to as economic reforms, which we will discuss later. Okay, all the different reforms that the government of India has introduced, mainly it is to raise the growth rate. Okay, but even though after the implementation of these reforms, there has been a small improvement in India's growth rate. And if we compare the growth rate, even in Pakistan also, it's not that good. It's very, very small. It seems as if compare among India, China, and Pakistan, it's China which did overtake these two countries, which did really has try its best to grow and move faster than these two countries. Talking about the structure of the structure of growth in these three different countries, yes. For example, India, we have three different sectors. Okay, looking at our country India, we have the agriculture, the manufacturing, and the tertiary sector. Yes, in the earlier years it seems as if the agricultural sector that do really play a very dominant role in our country India, okay, in raising, in improving the growth rate in our country. But as years pass by, it seems as if it is no longer agriculture, but instead it is the manufacturing sector. However, if you look at um, the same also happens to Pakistan. Okay, there has been a change in the structure of growth in that particular country. That means in Pakistan, and the same changes did occur in in China, and all these transformation had really transformed these three different countries in their own different way, or in their own respective manner. Talking about the third, that is the demographic indicators. Talking about, if we talk about the demographic indicators, that means we're talking about population. Okay, yes, so far it seems as if it's China that do really occupy the top position in having a huge population, which India came next and followed by the others, say followed by Pakistan. But later China did realize that having a huge population, it did really harm the growth, the strategy of growth. It did really hampered the the prosperity of this particular country. So China did later opt for the one child norm, okay, which had really transformed that economy by lowering the its population growth rate. Whereas if you look at the population growth be it in India as well as Pakistan, it did keep on increases, which did really affect their growth and development. Further over there says, despite a large size of population, density of population is low in China. Further, the sex ratio also is found to be low in all the three countries, pointing to the social backwardness where people who are high performance for a son in a family. Further, in terms of when we talk about the indicators of human development, that is, if we talk about the life expectancy, that means the lifespan of a person. Okay. If we talk about the adult literacy rate, that means we're talking about a person who knows how to read and write. Okay. Or if we talk about the percentage of people living below the poverty line, that means we're talking about those people who are very very poor. Okay. Number four, talking about the infant mortality rate. Infant mortality rate, that means we're talking about the 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 death of those newborn babies. We're talking about, if we talk about the percentage of population having access to improved water resources, if we talk about the percentage of population which is undernourished, that means undernourished, those we're talking about the group of individuals because they are too poor, they don't have a good food. Okay, comprising of all the important vitamins, nutrients, on and so forth. If we talk about the percentage of population having access to improved sanitization, okay, in most of these areas, that means be it if we talk about the adult literacy rate, if we talk about the percentage of people living below the poverty line, if we talk about the population of people who are undernourished, okay, it says over here China has performed better than India and Pakistan. That means, based on these human indicators, China has improved a lot. It means China has grown in terms of growth and development, has performed far more better than compared to India and Pakistan. Further, a substantial rise in the GDP per capita, that means we're talking about the income per person, the income that is being received by each and every individual, the self-sufficiency in food production. If we talk about the dualistic nature of the economy, which means the economy is divided into two sectors. We have the modern sector, we have uh, the primitive sector, which comprises of agriculture. The considerable reduction in the incidence of poverty, if we talk about those, if we talk about these points, okay, there has been a signs of improvements both in our country India as well as in Pakistan. Whereas if we talk about the the failures in our, be it in our country as well as in Pakistan, it is in terms of the the slow pace or the slow growth of the GDP growth rate compared with China, the poor performance of the human development ranking, the fiscal management, that means when we talk about bank, the political survival, a dominating issue rather than a good governance. If you look at something which is not which does not show an improvements in our country India, it is something if you look at the GDP growth. It is something if you look at the Human Development Index. Okay, what is that Human Development Index? It is something when we talk about the the numbers of people who are educated, if we talk about the the life expectancy of a person in general, okay, here over there it's been written the fiscal management, that means the tax, the policies that is being implemented by the government, Okay, as well as when we talk about our government. Okay, our government, it has not yet proved to be an efficient one. If it is an efficient government, if we have such an efficient government, our country should have grown by now. Okay, but because we do have all these failures, not only us, okay, over there it's written same thing with Pakistan as well. It did face the same problem. These are the failures not only of our country India but also of our Pakistan. Because of these failures we cannot grow faster than that of China.